Hello YouTube, thank you for joining another Killer Comic Show. It's Thursday, it's 9 o'clock, it's the UK's favourite time of the week. We've got Andy from Perpetual Comics. We've got Ben from Attention Seeking Geek. We've got Sean from New Comics, and we've also got a special guest that's joining us tonight, Mr. Matt Kind. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Thank you so much for joining us. I know we're all very excited to have you on. So, how's it been? How's the big furore been around the release of probably one of the most highly anticipated comics of 2021 so far?
You're making me nervous. No, everything was fine till right now. Yeah, I've been so busy. I just keep my head down and keep working, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's been pretty great. I mean we've all read it, and I think for people that in the chat haven't read it, if it's okay with you, I was just going to play the trailer that released for the comic, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Violence. I'm cursed and compelled by it. An undying harbinger of death. After centuries of bloodshed, I'm finally close to an answer. If I fight for the US government, they'll grant me my one desire. The truth behind my blood-soaked existence. And how to end it.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I've read the book, but I'm excited for the book that I've already read.
Exactly.
I want to read it again now.
It's that deep sound. It really gets you going. I mean, I need a cold shower, I think, after that.
I mean, Matt, I was lucky enough to have Ross Ritchie on the show before the comic was released, and it was really good talking to him because he broke it down and said that Keanu Reeves came into the office and was like, Keanu just said to him, I want to start a comic. I want to punch someone through the chest. Am I going to be able to do this?
Yeah, I know. I think Ross told me the other day, he's like, what's great about your collaboration is I don't put any limits or try to rein Keanu in at all. You know, it's just like,
yeah,
just encourage him. I was like, well, yeah, I think literally what he was like, yeah, I want him to be able to punch somebody through the chest. And I was like, yeah, but then what? Like his hand's in there, what's he gonna do? So like the idea of like breaking somebody's rib off and using a weapon, that was my contribution. And,
yeah, I think I need to congratulate you, Matt, on producing probably one of the most violent comic books I've read in a long time. It was hideously glorious in the best kind of way.
It's a pretty high bar. Like if you think about like I know Keanu and I talked about Hard Boil and Jeff Darrow being like one of our early inspirations. You know, so it's a pretty high bar that we got to get over. To me though, the fun of it, like that's the fun part of the book, but then like there's a heart to this book that we slowly get to over the next 11 issues. That's like it's not just about the violence; it's about like why and like why do we enjoy that, you know, and why like the ramifications of it. So it gets pretty deep.
Well, it's quite. I really enjoyed the. Obviously, I try not to spoil things as much as we can on this show. Charlie sometimes lets the team down on that front, but. There was obviously that kind of moment of realization, I guess, that the character has midway through this first issue, and I really enjoyed that. I think that kind of really sort of stayed with me for the rest of the book. So I'm excited to see where that kind of goes emotionally. But at the same time, if you continue to have him hitting people with their own rib cages and stuff, then I'm also all for that.
Yeah. That's just issue 1. We had to figure out a way to ramp that up every issue. So It's better and better, or worse and worse, depending on what you want.
I lost track of how many different ways somebody died in it. As I was going through the first 25 pages, it was like, just so many. It's like ribs, check. Face exploding, check. Legs ripped and arms ripped apart, check.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of A Night Out in Glasgow. I've had many experiences like that, so.
And that's why I've never visited.
Indeed. That's why I don't live there anymore.
I mean, Matt, it must have been great working with someone like Keanu. I mean, was he very, obviously you co-wrote the comic, but was he very passionate? Because we know that he's read comics for years. He really does enjoy comics. Did he have some things that he wanted to include in that comic that you was like, whoa, this is a bit too far out there?
Yeah, no, he came with so many ideas. Like the first meeting, we started pitching the story idea to me, and I was like, and started giving me ideas, and we started pitching them back and forth, and then I started just building a big document with all of our ideas in it, and he's super hands-on. Like he's not just excited about or a fan of comics or whatever. He's excited to like make it and like craft the story and everything and all the stuff that goes into it, and like there's definitely an overlap with like what he does for a living, and then comics, like what I do, like the idea of like telling a story and the dialogue and the acting and direct, like we get to do kind of all of that. And it's fun to see him get excited about like all the cool stuff that comics can do. It's like there's no budget. Nobody can tell us what to do. It's like all the stuff that can be constraints in film, it's like we don't have any of that here. So it's been super fun, I think, for him. And I'm honored to sort of be the one that to get to introduce him to like how great comic books are, to work on.
Yeah. I mean, it is uber violent. I think it is kind of like it's a cross between a John Wick novel and like there's some elements of like Quentin Tarantino in there. I mean, I think in the first 2 or 3 pages, he's jumping out of a plane that we see in the trailer, but it's the fact that it's quite interesting that he said he wanted to punch someone through the chest, and it's very intently done in this comic, and it's just it was really interesting. I like the violence of it. I like the fact that for me, I couldn't help but think to begin with, I couldn't get my head around it. It was kind of like a John Wick-esque type of story. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's obviously he's portrayed that character for, I think it's about 5 or 6 or 3 or 4 films now. So it's kind of hard for me as a comic reader to look at it and think, this is Keanu Reeves, not the actor. He's in comic book form, portraying someone that's immortal, and it was just, it was so interesting to read.
Yeah, no, to me, I feel like there's a magic of this book, and there's some sleight of hand going on, because like the whole issue is it's just like a giant action scene, right? And then the recovery afterwards. But then the sleight of hand stuff is all the dialogue over the top, like and this is what's great about comics, like I feel like we're really using comics for what they can do. It's like there's a serious story and like this dialogue back and forth between these 2 characters. You don't know really who they are, what they're talking about. And that we pull that thread through the entire series, and it pays off in such a good way. Like the action's there. To me, that's like the stuff to hook you in, right? It's like, oh man, what's going to happen next? But without the other stuff, without that dialogue over the top, it could just be like a shallow kind of action thing, and it's 100% not that. But it's fun to sort of pretend it's that, and then give you guys like a sucker punch like halfway through that nobody sees coming.
And I've got to say, Matt, like the way it was wrote, it really flowed. Like for me, it just felt so kind of fluid in terms of the pace of the story and everything like that. And I did something that I've not done for a comic for a long time. I read it, and then I read it again straight after. And it was really interesting to kind of go back, read it again now that I know where that dialogue was coming from. And you'd kind of put a face to the voice, and, all of that stuff was all matching up. And second time round, it was great again. So, you got got to be commended on that. I really, really enjoyed it. And I was one of these, nerds in their basement going, oh, well, I don't know if the hype's going to live up, and if Keanu Reeves is Nate, what makes him be able to write a comic? But I am sat here proven wrong, sir, because it was a really great read. I really enjoyed it.
I think one of the things I liked was that, because I expected the whole way through, the whole premise was that he's just trying to find a way to die, but then you find out about midway through it's not the case. He just wants to be immortal. So I thought that was an interesting spin on it, because I thought that this was going to be a by the numbers book until that point, and then it just completely turned on its head. Whose idea was that? Was that yours or was that Keanu's?
Yeah, no. Here's the thing: is like I've been doing comics for 20 years, and I have probably like 3 or 4 different projects that I was working on, like about a vampire or an immortal warrior or somebody who, and every one of those I could never crack it. And then part of the reason was like, oh, this guy, like that is the obvious go-to is like, oh, he just wants to die, like he's tired of living, he wants to die. And so I went into that first meeting with Keanu, and I was like, oh, and we were just discussing the character, and he'd already kind of inhabited the role, right? And so he's like, if anybody's writing a character in this, he's writing the main guy, and because he knows he's in it. And so I was like, oh, well, what does he want? He wants to get rid of this ability so that he can die. And kind of was like, no, not at all. Like, that's not at all it, And I was like, well, what? And then I was like, what is it then? And he had this idea, and really, like, the heart of it is like he doesn't want to die. He just wants to have meaning. Like if every day, if you can never die, the twist is if you can't die, then every day kind of loses meaning, right? Like if you're living forever, then does anything matter, And so like that deeper little twist on it is something he brought to the meeting. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh yeah, I love that. I think we can really write something good, really something interesting there that we can kind of relate to.
It just sounds like how I feel on a Monday, to be honest.
It almost feels as if he's having a bit of a Groundhog Day. He's just kind of working through the motions. Yeah. Whenever you see him, from start to finish, it's like, oh, here we go. Here's another day. Here's another, battle that I have to fight, which I thought was a really interesting sort of concept. I guess Keanu can walk into any comic publisher and get an interview, but or get listened to. But I'm just wondering, had Keanu sort of went to any of the other publishers, I can't imagine this in a DC or a Marvel book, just because of the amount of violence and gore and bloodfest. Are you able to tell us if he actually went to any other publishers for this book?
Yeah, no, he didn't. I think he already had an existing relationship with some of the guys at Boom, like Stephen Christie and Ross. I think he kind of knew them already from like other movie stuff. So they already had kind of a working relationship. And then they asked him if he was interested in doing a comic or if he would ever do one. And he's like, yeah, I have this idea, And the idea was it's kind of a crazy one. Like, I know on the surface, it's like, it seems like other stuff, and it's not. It's like, it gets so crazy. Like we're like plotting out issue 12 now, and I'm like, this is insane what we're doing. But yeah, I don't think he pitched it anywhere else. And it really is to Boom's credit, they just let us go and do what we wanted to do and tell it how we wanted to tell it. And if anything, Ron came on to do the art, and he'd been working at Marvel, and then some of the early stuff he sent, it's like, we can't see enough more. It's like we can't see enough. Yeah, we want it to be like kind of shocking, and so he really ramped it up.
Yeah, no,
I really enjoyed Ron's work in this as well. It's got to be said. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's really great. We're happy with it.
But I think one of the things for me was that obviously as the comic first started, it was very action packed, and I think everyone was expecting that from the trailers that had come out and the interviews that Keanu had done. And I think the turning point of it was the end of the comic, because you kind of gain that anticipation to find out how this story is now going to progress, because we know it's not all going to be about violence, it's not all going to be about arse kicking and stuff like that. So it's really, as Sean said, it kind of flipped it on his head, because you're now thinking he doesn't want to be immortal for the rest of his life. He just wants to get some mortality and be like a normal person, as it were. I thought that was very interesting, like, way to turn it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I can just I'm so excited about like the next. I mean, it's 11 more issues, so I just can't describe like where the places we go and the stuff we do, like, and setting it. Spoiler for the end, being able to go back 80,000 years. That's a minor spoiler.
But that's cool.
Start there. Well, that means we can do anything and show it, and it can be kind of weird and kind of nuts, and so that really opened it up for us to just sort of jump all over the place and
was there any point during the process where you turned around to Cam and just said, listen, I think this would actually work better, and he agreed with you? Or was it just all sort of do this and then you could just give maybe the odd idea towards it?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many hours we've spent talking story and character and just hashing it out. It's not like, hey, here's the idea, and then I wait for approval or anything. It's more just like, hey, what about this? What about this? It's just like being in a writer's room, or it's really just like co-writing in the
just feeding off each other essentially then.
Yeah. So it's like we came up with the plot, the general beats for like the whole 12 issues. And then from there we break it down into 4 issues. It's like, okay, what about this? And so we'll talk about it. I'll type up an outline. We'll talk about the outline, go over that, and then break down the issues, and then we'll talk about the issue, what we want to have in it, and then we just spitball it till and best idea wins,
But you've obviously been doing comics for years. I mean, in sort of with all the comics that you've done, where would you say this ranks with the level of excitement sort of doing a comic itself?
It's tough. Like half of the books I've done were just me on my own, so those are not exciting at all. It's just me by myself. Like so anytime I get to collaborate, it's a mix of like I'm a little nervous and then a little excited, and then when the collaboration starts to click and work, then it's really great. Like when I find an artist I work with really well, like all of the guys I've been working with right now, like Tyler Jenkins, Wilfredo Torres, and David Rubin. Like I click so well with those guys that it's just super fun for the art to come in, And then co-writing is different. I don't do it as often, so I've only done it with Jeff Lemire and now with Keanu, which I was like, I don't think I needed any other co-writing partners. I don't know who would somebody asked me, who else do you want to write something with? I was like, can't think of anybody else.
How do you go beyond that?
Yeah. So it's a different kind of, it's not excitement. It's more just like fun. Like when you're a kid and you're like, you're playing with whatever, your little G.I. Joes or whatever you want. For me, it was just like, I would sit around the kitchen table with my friends and we would cook up comic book stories, and it feels like that. Like I'm a kid again with my friend and we're just like cooking up fun stories, but with an adult kind of sensibility now. And like,
what's an adult?
We don't do adult.
No, not at all.
Matt, with obviously with the likes of Something Is Killing the Children, again another Boom Studios novel going into like a TV series and that, do you think there's ideas behind this comic to make the transition into being a TV series or potentially being a movie with the likes of the Keanu Reeves with yourself at the helm of it?
Yeah, I'm sure that is going to happen. I'm sure it will be. But even when they invited me to sort of have a meeting and talk about it, like even going in, I was like, I don't really want to do a book. I don't want to work on a comic book where we're just doing the comic and going through the motions so that we can get made or they can sell it, and it just be a vehicle.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't have done it. Like I was ready to just have the meeting and then that'll be it. I don't want to do that kind of thing. Because I grew up, I've been doing comics 20 years. I love comic books, so I like movies too. I love movies and I'm fine with things being adapted and used like that. But I didn't want to just like hack out a comic so that we have the comic so that we can do the movie version, And talking to Keanu, he's definitely, it's like, let's make the best comic, It's like we talk about comics, we look at the stuff that inspires us, and then even like somebody asked him that question last week, and he's like, yeah, we're just focused on the comic right now, and the movie stuff, it'll happen, it'll take care of itself, right? Like Keanu, so it's gonna sell and it'll be whatever, and then who's gonna star? Of course, he would be the star of this thing. Like he knows that character backwards and forwards. So of course he would be that, but we still have 11 more issues.
Who's he going to play in the film? Sorry, which
character? Yeah, one of the background SWAT guys, maybe. I don't
know. where he's hitting someone with an arm or something.
I'm trying out for the lead role. Let's see if I can figure it
out. Matt, do you think there's a danger that lots of other movie stars will try to do the same thing as what's happening, and that they'll use comics as a bit of a vehicle to be a kind of a glorified visual script for movies?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not gonna happen. It happens all the time. Like I've seen that over the years. Is like you have a star come in or somebody with fame or whatever that comes in wants to do kind of put
right. Name and shame, Matt. Come on.
Yeah, I'm not naming anybody.
Let's hang out the dirty laundry. Come on.
That's how I roll. That's not how I roll, but the thing is, you know it when you see it. You can just Google it and find it. You know.
Yeah.
It's like you see those books, and then those books are obviously just vehicles for the movie to get made. You know, and I was like, this isn't going to be that. Like they wouldn't have asked me to do it if they were doing that because I wouldn't have done it. You know, that's like I want to make a really good comic book. You know, and if we're not doing that, then I'm not interested.
That's cool.
And I've got a really important question, Matt. Like, that's how important it was. My light broke. How much of this was inspired by the fact that Keanu Reeves is potentially immortal himself? Because that man has not changed at all for about 30 years.
Yeah, somebody asked him that in an interview last week. He doesn't know that one, and I didn't know it either until I started working on this project. Then I get friends texting me all these memes all the time. I'm like, what is going on here? I don't know.
I think it's all that time traveling in there with Bill and Ted. It's literally going backwards and forwards. He hasn't aged. But I think this is definitely someone, Southern Comic Geek, who's in the chat as kind of backing up what I'm saying. Now, it is the year of Matt Kind with Berserker, ENIAC, and you also had Fair Case 2 that released this week. So you must be kind of pinching yourself at some point this week where you're like, I've got 3 comics that are out.
Well, I was trying to pitch it. I pitched it to my family that Wednesday it should be Matt Kint Day on Wednesday this week.
I see that on your Instagram, yeah.
Yeah. My wife was like, no, it's Wednesday. I'm like, okay.
We just know who to ask to get the first round in, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, oh my gosh, my phone blew up yesterday. It's like,
everyone wants to be your friend now.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I need friends, man. I got like 2 friends. I need some more.
But I mean, I think we can all agree that Berserker was a solid first issue for such a hyped comic. I mean, I think there was about 36 variant covers that came out, ranging from so many different artists. Have you got one comic cover that you kind of, I know I see you received your 2 standard covers in the post, but is there one that really stands out for you?
I like the Rafael Grampa one, the traditional one, because we had talked about the cover, and I think I'd come up with some ideas. I was like, I just put him on the cover and have a bunch of arrows stuck in him, and then he came up with that, and that's probably my favorite.
But no, it was. I mean, I know Ben was after you managed to get the Raza A cover.
I haven't got a copy yet. I need to. It's pretty hard to come by here in the UK, and I'm tight, so I'm not paying for shipping. But I'm sure a store in the UK will have it at some point. Because I mean, I'm a big Keanu fan anyway. Like I'm a massive Bill and Ted fan, and I particularly like that cover. I think because it so strongly obviously resembles Keanu on the front, but Raza for me nails that kind of ultra realism approach to his artwork. And he did a Wolverine birthday party cover a while ago. It was a variant for an X-Men book, and I from that moment on I kind of fell in love with his work, so that's my favorite cover. Did you have any inspirations as well with this in terms of other comics and things? Because like for me, Ron's art, it really reminded me of John Romita Jr.'s kind of approach to like the Kick-Ass books. Did you have, I mean, I guess, you know, you don't want to copy anything, but was there anything that in the back of your mind you're like, yeah, you know, that sort of approach would work for this?
No, I think the Romita for sure, like there's scenes early on where there were those guys in the helicopter and everything. I was like, oh man, I really responded to that because I love Ramida, and it's those thick guys or whatever, and the way the faces are, we really did. And then, but yeah, no, I know that one of our touchstones, we talked about like Dark Knight a lot and Frank Miller and stuff, and so there's definitely that Dark Knight homage. I just calling it straight up homage where he's jumping out of the helicopter. I'm like, that's totally like that great Batman moment, you know, where he's just like floating in the air and such a badass. But yeah, as far as other inspirations, I think we talk about, you know, Jeff Darrow a lot. He's a guy that we always loved, you know, and just the sheer amount of detail and the violence, but also kind of the humor and everything too. So I think we're trying to put a little bit of humor into it. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny, like I don't know with Ron, like what he's drawing on all the way, and I'll put little suggestions in there of stuff. And I know I gave him a bunch of reference for like Mobius. There's a lot of weird stuff that's coming up. And so I was like, something like this, but not like this. We need to come up with our own. So like sort of that clean, weird sci-fi and like, so I think there's some Mobius and some Frank Miller and Jeff Darrow. There's DNA in there of those guys.
Frank Miller, Sin City. A lot of the panels kind of reminded me of that. You know, the character's a bit like Marv almost.
Yeah. No, he's it's pretty great. And then Bill Crouchy's color on it too is just so good. Like we were going through, we're doing like director's commentary on issue 1, so we're typing up all our notes, and like almost all the notes were on the color and like how great it is at telling the story. Like go back through and look at it, and like you can see the color shifts depending on the character. So it's like he's all reds and oranges, and then the handler Jim Keever guy is like purples and blues, and then at the end it sort of shifts. But the color, just go back through and look at the color and what Bill did on the color. It's kind of a masterclass in comic book coloring.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I mean, I think obviously Berserker has got the interest it has. Do you think it would have blown up so much if it wasn't Keanu Reeves? Do you think if it was just without the Hollywood inspiration and stuff, do you think it would have still had the same impact and everything?
Yeah. No, it's funny. Like all my friends are congratulating me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that's great!" And how many it sold? I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not the one you should be congratulating." So I know exactly where I stand on all of that. But no, I don't think so. Like I look at like the best-selling books in comics, you know, and I think to me when I see a number like that and I see the excitement over it, what makes me happy is that it's like that has to be new readers. Like that's not all. That's not comic readers that have been buying Marvel and DC and stuff for, you know what I mean? It's not those readers. It's people that are fans of Keanu and people that haven't maybe read a comic since they were a kid. It's getting those kids into the store and buying a comic, you know? And I think that's, like as a lover of the medium, I think that's the thing that makes me most excited. I was like, good, like if this is what it takes to get people back in shops and you know, and there's
maybe not actual kids for this.
Man, if I was 13 and got this book, I would have loved it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Do you know what it also reminded me of? Have you guys seen Punisher Warzone with Ray Stevenson playing Frank Castle? It gave me a lot of those vibes in terms of like, I think if it ever does get translated into a different, you know, medium, I think that kind of unapologetic tongue-in-cheek approach to violence, which, you know, came across for me in the first issue, that'd be great. Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's a huge credit to yourself, Matt, that it's you and Keanu Reeves writing this comic book. Like out of anyone that could have been co-written with him, it's down to you. And I think that's a massive credit to you with the likes of, you've got the old guard, you've got Fear Case 2, you've got ENIAC that have come out. It's great to have these comics alongside with Berserker as well, because for me, although I did enjoy Berserker, my read of the week had to be Fear Case 2.
Oh, awesome, man. Thanks.
Like, and I know me and Andy have spoken in depth with this. Like Fear Case, it's an incredible comic.
Fear Case is superb.
No, man, I appreciate it. That's Yeah, that's the thing is I wouldn't have done Berserker if it wasn't going to be a good comic. You know, I don't want my name. Like I don't do work that just for the money or to get like to do Marvel and DC, but I don't do it for that. I want to do it because I have enough control of the story that when it's out there and it's done, I can be proud of it, you know. And depending on the project, sometimes you don't have that control. So if I don't have enough control of it, I won't do it. But Fear Case is one of those. That was one of those books. I've never written a horror book. Like, look at everything I've done. I've never written any horror comics, and so I was like, I kind of want to do one to see if I can do it.
You did. I mean, I read it yesterday for the first time, and it was fantastic. It really was. Just read through the first two, and it just sat there, just going at the end of it, going, yeah, it's my new favorite comic this year. So it is that good. It's I mean, I like things like Department of Truth, and it's got that sort of touch to it, and the horror element, you know. So, and it was just outstanding, very, very good.
It's like Department of Truth meets the X-Files. That's kind of how I explained it to the guys. And my hope for Berserker was that people would see your name, Matt, and then they would go Google and check out other books, because I don't think Fear Case is getting the love particularly that it should, because everybody's talking about Department of Truth and it been auctioned and all that good stuff. But I definitely think that if anybody is watching this or in the chat and hasn't checked out Fear Case, they're definitely missing it. It's one of the top books this year for me. It
sort of gave me that element of a film called It Follows, in a way, where you have to pass it on. That was an interesting spin on it, the way you did it. So it was,
No, it's fun. I might have I was thinking that yesterday. I was like, did I just self-own myself because Berserker came out on the same day as Fear Case? Maybe that wasn't a good release date, but people will find the book, you know, and it's good. It's like if they're sold out of Berserker, you pick up Fear Case.
Well, I'm a conspiracy theorist. Like, I love my conspiracies and stuff. And this comic, like Fear Case 2, immersed me so much. I was kind of like, I definitely think there's something out there like this. And then it keeps referring to the fact that they can only work on the case for 2 weeks because then it starts to affect you. And I'm reading this comic thinking, I can see where this is going, because I think if I was doing that, it would be affecting me. And again, the artwork in it and the writing, they really complement each other. It is honestly such a great comic, and I think Andy's right. Like, you maybe did shoot yourself in the foot releasing Berserker and Fear Case at the same time.
Well, Charlie, I've got some worrying news. This turned up on my doorstep.
Don't open it.
Haven't opened it. I often on a first day get mysterious packages that I just avoid. So no, this is a great book. I've got to be honest, Matt. For me, the artwork. I'm like one of these horrendous superhero. I'm such a sucker for my Marvel and my DC. So I'm very new to the indie game, so I'm getting used to that more stylized approach to kind of artwork and things like that. So that's I'm working on that. But the writing, it kind of gave such a feeling of tension and edge of your seat kind of stuff. And also it proves one thing, that you, sir, are sick, because the violence in this as well. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You need to see someone.
Matt, if anybody hasn't read Fear Case, how would you sum it up for them?
When you brought up the case, I was going to ask you who you're going to give it to, because the idea of the story is it's this case that he knows who gets it. But the idea is you get this case and you have to give it to the person you hate the most. And if you don't give it to the person you hate the most, and something happens or you die before you pass it along, then it ends up going to the person that you love the most. So you're either choosing a person you hate and just give it to them, or it ends up hurting someone you love, you know. And
I've already had a courier come to pick it up for my boss. So
Matt, how do you even think about something like that? Like, how does that? Did that come over your morning cup of coffee and your breakfast, or was it like?
I'm going to put another spin on that question. Who crossed you?
Yeah.
I don't have any enemies. There's nobody I hate, you know? And so No, I was kicking around ideas for trying to do a horror book, and like I'm not a fan of like the horror genre as a genre. I'm like not a fan of it, and then I'll say that to guys in the studio here, and then they're like, "Yeah, but you like The Shining and you like Alien," and I was like, "Oh yeah, but those aren't horror. Oh, those are horror. I do, so I do like horror, but I like it. I don't know. There's whatever that extra thing is, that's what I want. So
I think it's that psychological side, like those two films, like especially The Shining. That for me is it's a psychological drama. More than a horror film.
It's like
it's horrific, but it's more about I think the mind.
Yeah, and I think that's when I figured that out. I was like, oh, it's just psychological. It's sort of. I mean, there's mind management. If you look at that could be horror. Like I could have written that in a way that's just a horror genre. It could be scary. So yeah, when I figured that out, I was like, oh, we'll do this, and then there was another kind of story, a subgenre of horror that I wanted to write that I don't want to say because it'll spoil the ending. So there's like a subgenre of horror that I've been messing around with for a long time, and I was like, how do I get into that? And then figured out this is the thing, but it has something to do with the case and opening it or whatever. I'm not going to.
Exciting!
Yeah, this is not one of those series where it's like, what's in the case, and you never find out. It's not that. It's not Pulp Fiction. It's not what's Seven that it was based that he got that idea from. But anyway, it's not that. It's something else that's crazy. But
see, for me, it's less horror and more psychological. The fear case, especially without giving spoilers at the end of issue 2, where they state, we think we're losing our minds. Like, it almost when you're reading it, you're thinking like, who would I give it to if and what would be the worst case scenario if I didn't give it to someone who would get it the most? And I definitely think I'm really looking forward to issue 3. I think it's going to draw out more of what's happening with the two characters that are obviously on the case. So
yeah, I think touching what Andy said there as well, it's when you're thinking about who would you give it to, it's illustrated really well in that comic where you've got they go in and they find the names of all different people all over the room. They can't decide who it is that they actually hate the most, and and if you sort of think about it, you would struggle with that yourself if you have a lot.
If you look closely, you can see mine on there, bottom left.
I think your address is in there too, isn't it? Sorry about that. Let me know what kind of mail you get, fan mail you get.
There's no fans.
I'm scared of the fan mail of that book. I don't want any. Don't send me any.
Oh my god! Could you imagine you actually just get one? It would be.
Yeah.
But again, it's psychological. You'd think, I do actually open this. I don't know what to do. But I liked the twist within the twist. So when they're sitting down in the coffee shop and they're talking like we are about who would you give it to, and then the ramifications of if you give it to that person, something else happens. That's a dilemma that if this, again, I think there is something probably out there like this, that there's envelope, there's like chain letters, don't open this, if you forward it on, you're going to get bad luck for the next 10 days or something like that. But
mate, you've been in lockdown too long.
I've been locked down too long. But there is things like that you would think, hold on, if I do that, there's going to have ramifications on that and that and that. Is that how you see this comic panning out for the readers reading it, thinking, oh, actually, how would I deal with this situation?
Yeah. No, I think like to get deeper into it, like to me, the idea is like if you have a list of people you hate that can fill a wall, maybe there might be something wrong with you, Like if you hate that many people, that might be a problem. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking, because part of the fun of it is like, oh, who could you, who would I send it to? And it's like, I don't want to hate somebody, and I don't want to. And here's the thing: the person you hate, you probably think they're a terrible person, and so now you're giving this thing that maybe has this power to a really terrible person. And who does a terrible person hate? They probably hate somebody that might be good.
Yeah.
So it's like that. To me, it's like all about like it's the opposite of paying it forward. You're paying it forward, but with something bad.
And I guess if that person who you hate doesn't hate anybody, then it's going to be that person who they hated loved one who gets it. So
yeah.
Knock-on effect. Yeah.
One of the agents said something similar to that, where it's like they asked each other, who would you give it to? I would give it to the most hated person on the planet. And you kind of sort of sit there and think, well, if that happens, then it has to go somewhere else. Where does that go? So it goes to the opposite. Yeah.
Donald Trump, issue 3.
It's like, well, yeah, you give it to Hitler, right? Well, no. Well, then he's giving it to someone. Who's he giving it to? You know,
where does it end?
Yeah.
But no, it was. I mean, I guess it must be hard for you. Like, you've got 3 comic books coming out in on one day. Was it kind of hard focusing on 3 different aspects of a comic at 3 different times, or how did that pan out? What one came first? So obviously Fear Case was first.
No, ironically, I think ENIAC was the first thing I was working on. I worked on. So I wrote that issue probably, it might have been 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and then Berserker #1 I wrote like well over a year ago. And then Fear Case I wrote over the summer. So that was a new one. Like I just sat down at the summer and kind of wrote the whole series out. It came pretty quick. And I worked with Tyler before on Grass Kings and Black Badge. So we kind of have a shorthand. So the scripts I write for him can be a little bit shorter, or we can just talk on the phone and be like this or that. So that one came a little bit quicker. So yeah, to me, it's just happenstance. Like I worked on all of those at different times, and then they just end up hitting on the same day.
And ENIAC must be for us at the minute over here, it's the hardest book to try and pick up. I think the speculator market is kind of ruined it for the people who actually just want to read it. I was hearing on Instagram and Twitter that the publisher has given a lifetime ban to one of the shops who sold it for more than cover price, because there was a stipulation that they were only allowed to sell it for cover price for 30 days of release. So I guess that's a big difference. You don't see the likes of DC or Marvel or anything. I've never heard anybody actually doing that. So I think that's a heading in the right direction, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys what you think, because that's crazy to me. But it's also interesting for me to have 2 books come out on the same day that have such different sort of like marketing strategies. We got one that sold 600,000, another one that isn't that they made, I think, what they thought they would be able to sell, or they made printed to order, and so so I just think it's interesting. I don't know. I'm just watching to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope they all sell.
With your popcorn, like.
Or I don't know what's good or bad. I think with Berserker, it's great because you're getting people in the store, and with ENIAC, to me, it's less of a risk for a retailer. It's hard to be a retailer. You know what I mean? How many do you order? And then you don't want them sitting around for a month. You need to turn the books around. So you want to sell through. But then as a creator, I was like, I don't want any retailer to sell out. Because if you sold out of them, then that means you didn't order enough. Order more. But it's impossible to gauge that, that interest. And but yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there's any fear of that happening with Berserker, with that 1 in 1,000 that Keanu Reeves had signed, because I think a lot of shops were buying lots of the cover A's and cover B's just so that they could get that particular issue as well.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. And no, it's interesting. And I, as a creator and a lover of the medium, like anything that kills the collector aspect of it I like it. It's not stamps and it's not coins, right? It's art and story. And so like it's cool that some of them are rare, it's just like whatever it is, that's cool that some are maybe more rare than others. But like, if you just want to read the story and look at the art, it should be cover price. It should always be cover price.
Yeah.
Like as a creator, it's like the important thing is people are reading the books, and the collecting to me. I used to collect, like I've been collecting since I was 7. So I put them in bags and boards and everything. And as I got older, like I got too many. What am I going to do with all these? So I just started taking my books, my old ones, and then binding them into hardcover books and putting them on the shelf so I can look at them. It's like there's some valuable books in there, but I'm never going to sell them. I don't really care about collectability. I just want to be able to look at them.
Yeah. And I see on your YouTube, I think it was the other day, that the burning of the books, the burning of the pages. I find that really, really interesting, because the way that you've done it is obviously one of the pages you've burnt, and then underneath it's the continuation of the lady's legs. I've never seen anything like that before, so that was very interesting to see. Is that something that you consciously do when writing a book or a comic, or?
Yeah, it depends. Like I've had a few ideas like that. Usually an idea like that is an idea where I have the idea to like, that idea was, I want to do something. I'm bored at signing books at conventions. And so I want to do something that will make it more exciting. And so lighting a book on fire seemed fun, like a fun idea. But I had that idea for maybe like 2 or 3 years before because I didn't want to just do it for no reason. So I was working on that book, and then I was like, oh, this is the book I can do it on. It's like a crime book. You know, what is it? What's the crime when you set stuff on fire?
Arsonist.
Arson.
Yeah, arson's a crime. I'm
Trust you to know that, Charlie.
That was a test.
He's from Croydon in London, so he knows all about that.
It's a lovely area, Matt. It's a lovely area. But I mean, I guess that must get the attention, like, because obviously you must, as we all are, you must be missing comms so much.
I wasn't for like the first 8 months. I was like, this is great. I can just stay in my studio, write, and work all day. And then I kind of hit the wall like around Christmas time. I was like, man, I see the same 3 people, like my family and a couple other people. That's all I see or talk to. And then I was like, I can't believe that I miss talking to people, because I don't like talking to people. I would rather order food than talk to someone on the phone. Like I don't want to, like when I was younger, I would make my brother go up and talk to the checkout person or whatever, because I was too shy. And but by the end of the year, I was like, I can't believe it. I think I miss people. So I do. I miss. It took like a year though for me to miss conventions.
Yeah, because I think we're going to, I mean, have you ever done the burning of the book at a convention? Because that must be, one, they must have a fire extinguisher on hand, and 2, it must just be like a kind of a wow factor.
Yeah. No, that's the most fun, is doing it in person at conventions. And like one of my favorite times to do it was I was doing a book tour in France, and for the French language version. And my wife was like, I don't think you should do it here, because with the language barrier, they're not going to understand what you're saying. And they're not going to know, and then they're going to be. And I was like, nah, it'll be fine or whatever. And I did. The first couple, it's always the first couple that are the best, where the person doesn't know what's happening, and then they're like, and then I'm like, no, look. And then for the first 2 or 3, they don't want it done. They actually were like, no, don't burn my book. Yeah. I was like, no, this has to be burned. But then by the end of the line, like everybody in the end of the line, they're waiting for it, and taking pictures or whatever. It ends up being fun.
Now we know who's responsible for the Notre Dame fires.
That was not me. The bad part is I leave like a pile of ashes, like after a book signing, there's like a pile of ashes that have to be cleaned up.
Do you know what you should do after you've done that? Is just do like a puff of smoke, and there's just ashes there. And you just disappear at a Comic-Con.
Mysterio Matt.
Yeah, right.
Mysterio Matt. But I know you are very busy, so I won't take up any more of your time. I have one more question though. Out of the 12 issues of Berserker, have you got a personal favorite where you just sat back and looked at it and thought, "Wow"?
Boy, I don't know. It's tough. The first 4 issues are done. Issue 5, we just finished the script for. But I based on the outline, I'm gonna guess that issue 8 is the one. Everything's billing to issue 8, and then the last 4 issues are dealing with what happens in 8. But issue 8 is going to be insane.
all the speculators are now on getting.
It's going to be the lower and everything, and then the best issue.
But no, thank you so much for jumping on and spending 50 minutes with us. It's been absolutely great. It's been great reading Berserker. Fear Case number 1 or 2 have been sensational. Looking forward to more of your stuff. Have you got anything else that you're working on that you can talk about?
No, nothing I can talk about.
That's fair enough.
3 books is enough, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah.
All the details are in here.
Yeah, right.
But Matt, we are. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's been great. If you've got time, you're more than welcome to stay in the chat. We're going to crack on and review some comics.
Okay.
But I guess where you don't like talking to people, you're probably going to go and either do some work, burn down some books, or eat some food.
Sounds good.
But thank you so much for joining us, Matt, and everyone in the chat.
Thank
is
you,
very
Matt.
much appreciated. Thank you
Thanks
so
for the
much.
invite. Appreciate it.
Take
All
care.
the best, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right,
Bye.
see you.
Bye.
Oh,
Absolute gent.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was awesome,
very
wasn't
cool.
it? So,
So next
that was
week,
just,
Charlie, is Keanu on or what?
well, you know, but
Oh,
I thought, do you know what? I'll just give back to you guys. Like, it was just a bit of impromptu. I was talking to him on Monday, and I thought, well, do you know what? You guys are awesome. Why not just give something back to you? I know it's been hyped about the comic. Everyone's been looking forward to it. As I said, with like the 30 odd variant covers that came out. It's a Keanu Reeves comic. I couldn't help but read it and think this is Keanu Reeves. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't get, as I said to Matt, I couldn't get out of my head that it's Keanu Reeves playing Keanu Reeves as
Who it was written by Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, and there is a cover. I'm going to see if I can actually pull it up. There is a cover that is very, very much like John Wick, and it is this one. Where have we all gone? There we go. So it is this one. I'm just going to try and find it because not that one.
Peach.1 PDF. Peach.2.
This one. This is very much like John Wick. Do you not think?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's where he's normally got the dog beside him.
Yeah. I mean, this is very, very much like John Wick. And you can kind of see where people are coming from reading this comic.
Yeah.
Thinking, I can't get the fact that it's John Wick out of my head.
I guess that was a problem for a lot of the cover artists as well. They were probably given like a concept of what the book was about. As soon as they heard Keanu Reeves, they just put 2 and 2 together, and it was hard for them to get away from that look. So, yeah.
I mean,
that's a reflection there. See the reflection? I think that's really cool. That's
that was it there. Yeah. But I mean, it was a great comic. I think I do understand what you're saying, Andy. I kind of, if it wasn't, and even Matt just said, if it wasn't a Keanu Reeves book, it wouldn't have got as much hype as it did.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. Could this open the floodgates now for everyone else to kind of jump on?
If it gets more people into comic shops and keeping comic shops open, then I think that's a great thing. I think, you know, even if Matt wasn't a guest today, you know, I'd have still said the same thing. The writing was absolutely fantastic. Even there was no dialogue and it was just that concept of how he was feeling. I thought was absolutely superb. But, you know, Berserker's one thing. If you haven't got on Fear Case, go and check it out. That for me, again, Charlie, I said to you, it was the best pick. It was issue 1 was the pick of the week for me as well. It was just absolutely superb.
Yeah, I think I never got through 25 pages so quickly, but it wasn't because it was hardly any dialogue or anything. It was because I was going through it and going, right, I want to see this next page. Yeah, I want to see this next page. You know, all the action that was going on. So there was so much going on in each one, and it was.
Sean does the exact same thing with Playboy though, as well.
Yeah. Just to
find I wonder what's on the next page. Why is this next page not actually moving? No, you disgusting man.
You're absolutely filthy. You're not in Paddles and Pints now, Sean. You're not in Paddles.
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, this is the highbrow Thursday evening show. Thank you very much. None of that business here.
Smut.
But I mean, I think it was great, and it must be hard as a writer though to have 3 comics coming out at the same time, because you know full well that everything was going to be behind Berserker. But as you said, Andy, Fear Case for me, I enjoyed Berserker, but Fear Case for me was insane. Yeah,
top of the bunch. Yeah, for me, 100%.
I bet his bank account looks really good this month.
I bet it does.
It's a good payday. It's like when Josh Brolin was in Deadpool 2 and Avengers Endgame was released like like the week after or something. That's a good payday.
The tax man has nothing to fear because he knows where that case is getting delivered if he if he does his taxes.
To be fair, did anyone else chuckle to themselves? I didn't say this with Matt on because it wouldn't have translated with him being American, but Rishi Sunak with the budget briefcase, I just thought to myself, fair case.
Yeah. You did kind of look like that. I couldn't help but think of Seven Secrets though.
Do you know? I was literally saying, what is it with suitcases and Seven Secrets?
Yeah,
and, all that. Boom Studios as well, I guess.
But so
move on.
Right, okay, so we will move on. So
Bloody
Andy,
Seven Secrets.
Your comic was Fear Case number 2, which we've kind of covered. Sean, you are a very welcome guest on this show tonight, so I think it's only right that we kind of go on to Noctera number 1. Now, again, there was publicity behind it, but there wasn't as much as there was for Berserker, but I mean, it's by him, his comic. I think it was about 27 to 30 variants out this week. I mean,
that's the one that I actually ordered, the Monopole cover as well.
The Francis Monopole 1 in 10 cent. Yeah,
Jock was the best one.
It is.
I'm trying to find that one for you, but I mean, every single.
Could you, Andy?
It's the middle one at the bottom.
That's a pound in a pot. But I mean, we've got. This one, I mean, this one. This is the one by Jock. This is Andy. You got this, didn't you?
I did indeed. I got that. I got cover B, and I'm just about to order the foil version of this, which is a 150.
Wow! And do you regret that decision when you read the comic and it wasn't very good?
See, that's the thing. I really enjoyed it. I love Scott Snyder's work. I love all his books. The storytelling in this for me was fantastic. It was quite a difficult read, some of it for me. Because there was lots of different complex things going on, but I think that the overall concept of a world in darkness is really intriguing, and I'm really looking forward to issue 2, if I'm honest. Not just because Jock might be doing a cover.
It might be a case that if you, Andy, after this can break it down to me in layman's terms, I might enjoy it more because I completely agree with you. There was too much at times, and for me, being very basic, if there's too much, I'll clock off, and my interest is lost. One thing must be said though, the artwork was phenomenal throughout.
I loved it. I really love the artwork,
and I did really enjoy that part of it. So it was pretty to look at, and I loved the colours as well. Really kind of cyberpunk use of color palette, but just a little bit too much. Concept didn't come across clear enough for me as to what this story was. Whereas with Fear Case after 1 and 2, it's like it's clear, very much clear now what kind of the situation, and even Berserker as well. It's like the joy of Berserker was that it was so simple, so simple, and I think. You run a big risk by over convoluting a story in the first issue. At least warm up to that first. So
I kind of get what you're saying, but when I see where Andy was coming from, where it got a little bit, you got lost a little bit with the narration and bits of it. But then by the time you got to the end of it, you realized what was going on, and sort of that. I always give a story right to the end, the chance to sort of, if it doesn't start off well, will it get better as it goes along, and will it actually come to? And for me, it did. By the time it got to the end, I actually loved it. I thought it was really, really good. Artwork was unreal, but it's the type of comic I'm into. I love my horror element of comics, so I keep saying on other shows that Joe Hill comics, it's nice to see Scott Snyder actually do a horror, because I've only read Scott Snyder actually doing Batman. I haven't read him doing anything else. So it's nice to actually see that, but that's why it was my pick of the week this week, because when I heard what was going on, he was doing this, I thought, well, this will be interesting. And then I read the synopsis and thought, actually, this read up my wheelhouse, so, but I get where you are coming from in relation to it.
If Batman's if that's your only experience of Scott Snyder, then this is completely different from all that stuff. It's more into some Witches or Undiscovered Country, those types of books. The thing that got me about this issue was we know pretty much all we need to know about the main character. There's nothing something left that we're uncertain about, and it basically it's more of who the villain is. So who is it that's chasing the people that
what was his name? Blacktooth Bill.
Yeah.
Talking about Blacktooth Bill.
Oh
dear.
I didn't think he was coming. I wouldn't have been on if I knew.
Where's Matt? Have I missed him?
He knew you was coming on, mate, and he was like, he's very positive. And when he found out you were coming on, he kind of ducked out. He literally just messaged me and said it was an absolute blast. Thanks for having him on. He would have stayed around, but he's got a script that's due today. So
it's nice to actually come on when that's due as well. So,
when that screen popped up there, I was like, what the hell has happened to Matt?
He's come back on.
I had a script to read you as well, but I thought I'd come on and meet you guys.
But James, I mean, we spoke about Berserker with Matt. We spoke about Fear Case with him as well. We're just talking about Noctera now. Did you read that?
No.
Did you read any of those?
I read Berserker. Yeah.
Okay, thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of punching, which I like.
A lot of punching.
Which is why
not a lot of story. But sometimes you got to weigh it up, and if you like punching, it's good to go. That was all right. It was interesting. I think it was interesting.
We had an exclusive from Matt saying that his personal favourite is number 8, and he's just finishing off. I think the script's finished for issue 5. So I'm very much looking forward to. I'm gonna read the story. I just hope it progresses more than the hype surrounding it, because obviously we had your favourite comic. We had King in Black. That the hype for that, it was massive, and it's kind of just. I think its peak was at number 1. I kind of hope that this doesn't do the same, just because it's Keanu Reeves and everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, not buying the comics, flipping them for stupid prices. But then there is that flip side of the coin that it will actually do well and constantly do well because it is Keanu Reeves.
Do you know what King in Black feels like? It feels like when you blew up a balloon and you're like, and you get really far and it's like nearly done, and then you slip and it goes. That's what King in Black feels
great
like.
analogy. That was brilliant.
But yeah, so Noctera, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the artwork. I'm not going to lie, but I kind of was reading it as if thinking, what is this PM about? What is the PM? What is this PM? Who is this PM? And then obviously we find out it's the Darkness. But I am interested to find out who the character is. What is his name? Black Teeth Bill.
Something like that. Yeah, I got the PM thing straight away. I just assumed it was past midnight.
It's like AD or BC. Yeah.
That's what I took from it anyway.
Well, but clearly better education.
I just read too many comics, I guess.
Much bald for one stream, and then Chris Bell is a friend of mine. I've turned my contrast down. There's so much glare.
Hold on. I have a spanner for that. Let me just block that guy.
Yeah, he has got a spanner. But yeah, I think honestly, I think Noctera was good. I think is it a 12 issue? I think it's 12 parts, isn't it?
Yes, it's 12 issues. It was originally a Kickstarter. It's from Scott Snyder's sort of self-publishing company.
It's got that feel to it, though. For me, it feels like one of those books, independent creator books that you kind of walk past at a convention and they're like begging you to read 3 pages of it. It didn't feel polished to me as a final product personally.
Really?
But let me know what I won't be picking up the second issue. I mean, let me know how it goes, and if someone turns the light back on.
I might just pick Noctera 2 for my pick of the week whenever it comes up.
Oh, you son of a!
I might go with that as well. We just do a whole show on Noctera.
It's all right. I'll keep making you read Thunderbolts.
But as we have been joined by, I don't know, probably Batman's biggest fan, I think it's only right that we jump into Batman 106 now. Was this yours? No, was this yours or Tom's pick of the week?
Tom's.
It was Tom's, but
it was
obviously
Tom's,
I was there.
Now
waiting for this.
For me, I love the Batman covers, and the only thing I'm hating about this is the dodgy top left Infinite Frontier thing. They did it with bloody Future State. They've done it with King in Black. It's just the old copy and paste. This is the main cover. Then we've got the wraparound variant edition. Who doesn't love a good wraparound? And we've got the 1 in 25 Riccardo Federici cover.
I mean, that's gorgeous. That
is it?
Yes, James.
Why is he making that face? I don't understand.
Because he's
Batman. So
because his parents died.
He literally looks like Robin's just did a nasty fart and he's just smelt it and he's just like.
Oh God, I'm not going to be able to take that image and thought it in my head.
What does that smell, Robin?
But I mean, what was your thoughts about this? I mean, we all hated Future State. I kind of can't see the point of it, what the actual overall outcome of it is going to be. Obviously, there's going to be 2 or 3 characters that they kind of run with. I have heard that this comic is going to be one of the bigger tie-ins, though. So this is the one that kind of ties in the next Batman, the Future State, and everything for that.
Well, yeah. What's weird is it appears that this is almost now serving as a prequel to what we saw in Future State.
Yeah.
Which is really weird. I don't know. The whole thing seems very kind of self-indulgent with DC. Because firstly, the Infinite Frontier book, it's almost like they presume that you've read that across all the titles for DC.
Well, I said that to you, didn't I? I was like, the way that Batman 106 starts is the outcome of what happened in the Arkham Asylum. I'm like, hold on, there was no mention of that in Batman 105.
Yeah. It seems like we're missing a period of time as well. You know, and it's not overly clear how long that period of time is. And most importantly, guys, it really lacks Clown Hunter.
Yeah,
I did notice that. That was the one thing that got me. Having not read any of those books that DC wanted me to, and having waited so long for this issue to arrive, as a book, if you just jumped into it, and Sean, I guess you're probably good at example of that. You haven't read the previous books, but I didn't see the link between 105 and 106. But to be fair, I think thanks to Tinian's work, I was happy with the story on its own. I didn't need the tie-ins to understand what was going on. And the artwork, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean that's stable now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, Scarecrow just looked stunning on it.
It's insane.
The design is so cool. Like,
is that your next cosplay, Ben?
Unfortunately, Jonathan Crane is tall and skinny, and I'm fat and round and smaller. So
yeah, but you can just be Jonathan Crane in lockdown.
I have done a Scarecrow from the Dark Knight universe. To be fair, that's one of my finer pieces of work. But no, I wouldn't want to push it and try and make that giant hat that he now wears. And yeah, how am I going to eat my sandwiches with those syringes?
True, absolutely.
I mean, for me, I did like the comic. I'm glad like Batman's back and stuff, but for me, the last 7 pages of it just ruined it.
Oh, don't get me started. I had no idea what was going on. This was a pure Future State thing that they were doing, where they had multiple stories. And it was like, I'd have paid less for the book. In fact, I'd probably paid more for the book if they'd have given me 7 less pages to read.
That's the part where I sort of got lost because I hadn't read any of the previous, so I didn't know what element Damien was, what was going on. So it was like, right.
I mean, it basically just ties in from the Teen Titans, where he's left the Teen Titans now. He's had a showdown with his dad. He's had enough of that. He thinks he's going to make it and go off on his own, and then he kind of ends up with his mum. And it's I mean, do you think
it's a trailer, isn't it, for a spin-off?
Well, do you think this is something that DC are going to do now? Like, near enough every Future State comic book, there was a second story. Do you think this is what they're going to do with the likes of Suicide Squad, Batman, Harley Quinn, the Joker, even?
Yeah, I think they're going to pick books like Batman that they know people are going to be buying and reading, in order to sell the stuff that's probably not doing so well. But once I read those 7 pages and realised, wait, hold on, this is a separate story, and then I realised it was just a prelude for me to go and buy Detective Comics, it put me off buying that as a result of reading those 7 pages.
I mean, I just think it's the same from Tynion. I mean, I've said it time and time again, building up to Batman 100, the Joker War, it was so much better. Like, we had consistency, the characters were there, we knew what was going to happen. Anything after 105, but anything after the Batman Joker War, it kind of just felt boring to me. Like, it was just an introduction of a new character, and then he's gone. Like, we had Clown Hunter, we've got Ghostmaker, who's now best friends with Batman, and they was wanting to rip each other's heads off the last issue. We've got Miracle Molly, we've got the is it the Underbroker? We've got Clown Hunter. I mean, they've all kind of just gone like pissing in the wind. They've all disappeared.
Was it just
we obviously have
the introduction of Molly sort of done exactly the same way as Punchline, where I was like, do you know what I mean? Why? Why do exactly the same thing for the other introduction of female character? It was stupid to me.
I don't think it's that clear what that gang, what their kind of ultimate goal is really as well. I'm not really understanding the motive there.
No.
And because of that, I don't feel that threat. If anything, Scarecrow kind of stood out as the key threat of that book. But also, what happens when they finally catch up with the whole future state thing? So when it eventually gets to the point where it's like, right, this is where we was, at the beginning of the future state, then
I just rename it present state, I guess.
I guess
this is past state that we're reading right now.
That's pretty much the danger with these issues, like from like 105, 106 and onwards, is like until it catches up, are we going to look back at these issues and think, well, this was just pure filler and an opportunity to introduce lots of new characters and sell lots of issues? That's what worries me.
You love the filler, Andy.
I love a good.
But was it me? But Ben, what did you? I enjoyed the Infinite Frontier stuff more than I enjoyed the Batman comic. Like the little captions of the Batman story about the Arkham Asylum, again, the Joker toxin, and it all tying into the Scarecrow. I enjoyed that as a story much more than the Batman 106.
Yeah, I mean, it was... Yeah, I mean, again, but then it just felt so... Like, you can never pick up a rhythm in that Infinity Frontier thing, because it's all over the shop. The stories all have different artists, different writers on them. They only last a couple of pages, so you just can't get into anything. And for me, I just think DC just does not do that cosmic, because they obviously had their version of like the Watchers type thing, DC's version of the Watchers, and for me it just never translates as well, or it's never as clear. So I'm completely I'm out on the DC front other than Batman. That being said, my read of the week this week was Suicide Squad, so I'm going to read that because that was very good.
Check the colours out. Come on, real.
I mean, James, have you ever been into Batman or not?
I like the movie from the first movie back when I was a kid, and I never really got into reading Batman comics. So, probably the first comics that I've had, and first like the old annuals. You get the annuals, there was sort of Batman comics in there, but I grew out of it like most people should.
I can kind of see where you're coming from. Like, I'm slowly starting to go that way. I think the artwork's fantastic. That's been consistent, but it is the same old from James Tynion. It kind of doesn't seem like the story's going anywhere. It seem like they're just fillers for something else that's not coming.
It's actually it's future state, isn't it? Right.
Yeah, it is the only superhero comic I actually collect. Everything else is just indie comics. I don't collect anything other than those. So that's the way I've went, because indie is just so good at the minute. It's just phenomenal.
No, it is. And I think that's enough about Batman. I mean, for me, another great read of the week was Thunderbolts.
Yes, indeed.
I laughed so much throughout
Honestly, this was great. It was just I was laughing so hard at this comic. There was so much humor in this, and so many digs
at DC
in so many ways. Like one of my biggest things, I pulled it up here. Let me just go back to there. Now this isn't one of the biggest digs in DC. Look at this.
Well, they actually, I said about it on my show this week, but there is literally a line where he said about them being a squad and then who are sent to their suicide or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like explicitly. But I don't know whether that's a dig. I think that's more of a tribute.
It was the other one. He said they're a league for justice as well, and it was just like going, "Oh my god!" And it was just the whole way through it. I actually don't think I've laughed so much in the comic the whole way through.
I found it so refreshing. I found it so refreshing that it was after reading the likes of Fear Case, Berserker, Noctera, and Batman. I was like, this was my last read as well, and I was like, this is great. It was an enjoyable, funny comic.
Yeah, I agree. I read it directly after reading Noctera, which is obviously quite heavy because of the character, loads of character. What's the word I'm looking for? Development that was in it, and then this was just light-hearted fun, and it was really, really enjoyable. And I wouldn't have read it if it wasn't for Ben picking it as picks of the week. So,
is it only 3? Is it only 3 issues though, or are they actually doing more issues?
It's obviously all been a King in Black spin-off, so I think hopefully it's been successful enough for them to start afresh. And I think it's very much set up that way, isn't it? They've lost a couple of members, got a couple of new members, and Kingpin's obviously still going to kind of have them under the thumb, so to speak. So, but yeah, I mean, I've said it for the last 2 issues. This is the funniest book out there. It's so quick and it's so kind of meta in parts, and also just the similar to Berserker in a way, but it's got a very kind of tongue-in-cheek approach to violence as well, which I think is fun, and that comes across. So, and the artwork I think is just full of character as well. Like I love the way I fell in love with is it Mr. Fear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that character was not on my radar before this, and now I'm there. I'm a Mr. Fear fan. So, and I love that they've kind of like brought in now Mr. Hyde, who is like a great Z-list Marvel character from back in the day, and they've kind of brought him back in. So, yeah,
Figment as well.
Pigment.
Yeah,
it's great. It's a great book.
Did any of you read Star when that was released?
Yeah.
No.
I think I read the first issue where she has the interaction. Is it with she has an interaction with someone on a roof, and I was kind of like, this isn't really the comic for me. But is she the same character portrayal as she is in her solo comic, Andy?
Yeah.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
So that's genius. They've taken something that flopped and kind of reinvented or brought her into a completely weird setting, and it's clearly kind of working. I love that. Can we also just appreciate how awesome that redesign of Taskmaster's gear is?
Yeah,
it looks so cool.
For someone who didn't read any comics beyond Keanu Reeves punching, what's the Thunderbolts? So obviously it's a King in Black tie-in. We're on issue 3. What's the sort of storyline of it?
So basically, Kingpin is he mayor, I think, of New York, and he's kind of decided that the King in Black situation needs to be sorted for him more than anything anyway. So he hires a group of undesirables. It's basically Suicide Squad, but instead of Amanda Waller, it's Kingpin. There you go. Long story short.
Great.
It was good.
It's actually really good.
It is really, really good. James, what was your read of the week?
Like I said, to be honest, I read Punchy Keanu Reeves, and then I was like, I don't really want to read much else. I did read Nottingham. Issue 1 dropped. It's like a new sort of take on the Robin Hood sort of stuff. Pretty violent, pretty sort of different take on it. Where the merry men, they're robbing from the poor, but they're like bad guy. They're pretty nasty. And then the sheriff, of Nottingham, he's sort of again, he's still nasty himself, but he's sort of portrayed as the protagonist to try to stop all these killings that the Merry Men are doing. So it was interesting. The art's a bit whiffy, but it's an interesting take. I would recommend checking it out.
But it was good. I also see that you got your Usagi Yojimbo.
Standard.
Yeah. Well, again, Forgotten Planet, I haven't got it to me yet, so I have to wait.
Such a joke.
I love that Forgotten Planet has now become a thing.
It has been.
It has caught on.
It has become a thing. I mean, I've never bought with them, and I think the only time I did buy with them, it took about 3.5 months for the comic to arrive. And when it did arrive, it wasn't in a bag or balled. It was damaged. So I was like, not even going to bother anymore. But then Andy, like you received your comic the other day from Replacing Space, and it wasn't even bag or boarded, was it?
That was big as well.
Yeah. I played. No, well, it was the oversized Turtles book, Last Ronin, that they didn't bag and board, which, I was kind of okay with that. It wasn't a big deal.
It's kind of fair enough because they damage it potentially if they squeeze it in.
Yeah, absolutely. But the last couple of books that I've got from Forgotten Planet haven't been. There was 2 of them that I bought, and they put them in the same bag. No bowl.
Yeah, they do that.
Which is crazy.
Because that's I don't have a pull list of any local shop. I just get them. My pull list technically is with Forbidden Planet because they're cheaper if you've got subscriptions through them. Like they are actually really cheap, and that's why I go with it.
Reason, I guess.
It's like, I mean, it's not a comic deal for no reason, but they're like £2 something for an issue, and it's like well, I can wait a few extra weeks to receive it. But that's always, if I'm getting Turtles and getting Usagi from them, which is technically my pull list. If they fall in the same week or a week after, they'll package them together and send them out. But they're usually 2 in the one bag, and it's a bit ridiculous. But
Darren, my friend Darren's just said, "Don't say that." He's bought 2 Berserker covers from A Place in Space. Now, I can normally talk like good things from them because they're my LCS and stuff, and they've got they sort out my pull list, which isn't that much every month, to be fair, as you guys will know. But no, they normally are good. They're normally bag and boarded. I think it was just because it was an oversized comic that they didn't really have the magazine bags and boards though. But I think it's that time of the week, guys.
Oh, it's the only reason I wanted to come on.
I think it is. It's time for Peach of the Week. It's the part that everyone loves. It's Peach of the Week. Now, Sean, because this is your first appearance, and James, we didn't know if he was coming or going. So I'm going to go with you first of all, Sean, and I think it is this one. But Andy, you picked this one as well, haven't you?
I did. I'm going to take one of the cheeks, and Sean's going to take
the other. Do you want the left or the right?
I'm not picky.
It's a very subtle choice, guys.
It is.
It's my middle name, then.
Well, what can we say? Unreal.
I mean, it is quite.
Sean. Jeez.
I mean, it is quite a. It's a subtle. I was gonna say subtle tongue in cheek, but that kind of that. We might save that for after the watershed. But it's quite a nice cheek.
I don't think that's great. I think it's covered too much in shadow. I don't know whether it's more the silhouette that you've appreciated there, but I think you guys can do better. I think you've let the.
It was a slim week for the Peach.
Well, you say that. Me and Ben actually did pretty well. So Ben is up next.
There you go. Who symbiotic bottom.
Superior cheek.
Get that comment down, covering it up. How dare you? Yeah. Do you know what I thought as well to myself? It would be quite fun if you had like a chauvinist who walked past and like slapped Gwenham's bottom. Because it's symbiote, I reckon it would just like grow a massive hand and slap you back. And then I giggled to myself for about 5 minutes. But yeah, no, it's clearly a tight costume because it is literally her skin. So it was a no-brainer, this Peach, for me. The tongue looks pretty conspicuous there, doesn't it?
Oh, that's a tongue?
It's got.
Now, do you think the symbiote sort of enhances the peach, or it sort of maybe lifts it a little bit, gives it more support, giving it that shapeless? Yeah,
I think it adds 20 extra lunges, as we can see from another angle.
Oh.
I guess it depends how perverse the peach is. Not the peach, the symbiote is, because like if you could have like a symbiote who's not that body confident and just like makes it look like you're wearing loose trousers, but clearly this symbiote knows itself.
What's the tongue doing again?
Same place, isn't it?
It is, and this isn't my peach of the week. This was just a tie on to Ben because I knew he was going to give that segue, and I knew Sean was going to jump in.
This artwork is terrible, by the way. Can I just say
it is? But my peach of the week has to go to Captain America.
Oh, look at that poking out from underneath the shield.
Look at America's ass.
Look at that,
America's ass.
This one, I've picked this one especially for Azorius Tiger and Sif Lordley, because. Yeah, it's patriotism, and it's a nice arse.
Charlie, you win. I mean, it's just the way it's kind of like it clearly doesn't want to be a nice arse. It's trying to shy away underneath the shield, but it's just so firm that it's
subtle,
come out, made an appearance.
Beautiful. As Darren said, it is a very subtle cheek.
Mm-hmm. There he is having a conversation with last week's peach of the week as well, Namor.
But
maybe they're talking about how they get their peaches so ripe.
Now, going back to this, what would you say has been the best peach so far? Either Captain America's or Nightwing's? Nightwing's was an absolute.
Nightwing's was thick.
Was there a reason, Charlie, we didn't do this segment when Matt was on?
I don't know. If we can come back on, we can get. I was trying to find the Keanu Reeves peach of the week, but there's not one in there. I think it's because he ripped off someone else's ass or put his fist through it.
He probably took his own ass off and started beating people around the head with his own cheeks.
He did do that with someone's arm.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I'm guessing he didn't ask Matt for a peach of the week.
I should have done, shouldn't I? I totally forgot. I might just drop him an Instagram message and say, if you did see our second peach of the week, would you be able to just drop me a quick sketch of your peach of the week?
Were there any peaches in Nottingham, James?
You know what? Actually, there was. Me and Marion was a little bit peachy. Now that you mention it.
Oh, full screen.
Let me just looking forward to this peach. Trying to find.
I might be wrong. I'm not 100% sure.
This better be
she's
good.
A bit.
This peach of the week.
She was hanging around.
Quality viewing right here.
To be fair, if you zoom in on that chin, that could be a good peach of the week, right?
Can we zoom in? Can we zoom? I don't know if we can zoom. Can we?
You know what? It's not great, but it's. I mean, it's better than Sean's, I guess. Made Marion's.
Oh no, yeah, that's
a peach in a plastic
nice,
bag.
Oldly worldly bum.
Yeah.
Very good, yeah.
It is. It's quite nice.
It's a good side boob as well.
This is the only one that I could fit a nice back end in Fear Case. That was.
Do you know what?
Took the bumper on that.
That is probably as bad as your one last week for Stray Dogs, which again James had a hand in.
Listen, it's a cracking set.
I had my hand in. I don't know if you ever.
At the end of the day, we cater to all markets here: male, female, dog, car.
But this is a 2-for-1, guys. Think about it. This is like a peach of the week and a lovely set of headlights.
So you're saying that peach of the week is an absolute beauty to drive?
Good God! The show started off so.
It did. It started off so
intellectual,
professional, and now it's just.
Did it?
We never got there. We never got.
Is it automatic or do you drive stick? For the that's for the American audience. Books.
So on that note, it's been an absolutely decent show again. Thanks to you all. Thanks for Andy, Ben, Sean for tuning in, helping me interview Matt. It's great. It was great for Matt to jump on. Look, there we go. Look, there he is again.
That was my picture of the week.
That was it. But what have you guys got coming up on your show? I'm going to go to Mr. Impromptu first of all.
I don't know.
Good.
Right. Thanks for that. Right, there we go. Ben, over to you, mate.
So my usual Thursday afternoon show went live today, so please do check that out. That's got various awkward jokes about Berserker and Keanu Reeves. And of course, the promotion for March the 18th, Soldiers On. So I was excited this week to announce that one of the auction pieces will be this, donated by Mr. Noob Comics Sean himself. So thank you very much for that. That will be up for auction on the night. And also I announced today that Not Quite Mint made a donation of all of these books. So they will be going up as well on the evening. So that's March the 18th at 9 p.m. GMT. There's a link to the Just Giving page on my Instagram. So you can donate before. You can donate £2, leave your name, and your name will go in a hat for a raffle to win 30 comic books. But yeah, just tune in on the night, and we're going to raise lots of money and have good, fun times.
Ben, I'm actually going to play your trailer for now, if that's all right.
Well, yeah, it's probably better than what I just said, so yeah.
Okay. So, guys, anyone in the chat, this is for Ben's Red Nose Day extravaganza on the 18th of March.
Do you want me to do the voiceover? Or?
It's fine.
It sounds great. Shame about the picture.
I mean, that trailer's available. that trailer's available on my channel anyway, so you can go check me out over at Attention Seeking Geek, and you can watch this trailer with sound.
And I'll
although it kind of
go ahead. How dare you mute me? Nope, still can't hear it. But guys, whilst we look at this muted video, I put the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to go and donate, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Can you not hear it, Andy?
Thank you, Andy.
No, we can't hear it.
No, we can't hear it. But thank you very much, and we'll see you all on the 18th of March.
Well, that was that. I thought you could hear it, which is why I muted you all.
No.
But this is live. This is what happens. And Andy's muted himself. But there we
I'm
go.
actually just going like this. It's because I'm still muted. What's going on? 167 quid we've raised.
Yeah, we're doing well. We're doing well. So yeah, it's exciting. But I hear that Comic Deal has an amazing panels and pints going on Saturday. James, tell me more.
I have an amazing panels and pints coming up on Saturday. Ben, tell me more. No, panels and pints this Saturday, 9:30 p.m. GMT, 4:30 EST, and not 1:30 PST if you are that way inclined and live on the Pacific coast. But that doesn't matter. You just be there. We are going to have comic chat. We're going to have wrestling chat too. Why not? Because our special guest is 3-time Pro Wrestling Eve champion and current champion, of course, Rhea O'Reilly. Check her out on the YouTube. You can see some of her matches. She has wrestled legends like Jazz and other female wrestlers. So check it out. The show will be a good one. I'm really looking forward to it.
No, I'm really looking forward to that. And I think when you announced it a couple of weeks ago, I was excited to find out who it was. Sean, what have you got coming up, mate?
Absolutely nothing other than going on panels and pints, which I'm looking forward to. It should be interesting to have a restaurant. Maybe. Well, James lets me know.
Sean, I actually was meant to say to you, it's probably not the best time to say now, but we don't have any space for you on this one.
Oh, well.
Ben, do you want to come on?
I'd absolutely love to, yes. Been waiting the whole time for you to ask me.
You just put like a fake beard on and then just pretend to be Sean. Nobody will notice.
This was my Sean cosplay tonight, to be fair, this headset.
It does look good. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great. James, thank you for literally just jumping in the last half hour to contribute to the Batman review. I'll take your words.
Contribute.
The art was great.
But no, it's been fun to do this every week with you guys. It's great having you on, Sean. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for giving me such a great peach of the week that you shared one cheek each with Andy. So I guess you can have that Monday to Wednesday, Andy can have it Thursday to Sunday. And then, as always, guys, I'm Monday 12 p.m. Don't ask me the Pacific or Eastern because I haven't got the thing in front of me to read it. And it's 9 o'clock every Thursday on YouTube. My show for the 18th has been hijacked by the attention-seeking geek because he is an attention-seeking geek and he wants all the attention on him. But it's for a good cause, so I'm happy to have a week off and let someone else do the hosting. So,
mate, you've still got work to do on that show, don't you worry.
I can only imagine. I'm looking very much forward to it. And don't remember, guys, it is cosplay. And if you haven't got your cosplay outfits sorted, that is £20 that you have to give to Ben.
I'm just praying mine comes.
No, don't say that because I think a lot of people would rather give £20 than dress up on the internet. So
£50.
No, there's no 50.
£100.
Charlie, you're forgetting something. You're nearly at 500 subs, I believe.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. I'm at 400.
Smell it, can't you? So
490 odd subs. So just massive thanks to the people that subscribe to this tashed twat talking comics every week.
New segment.
That was a lovely alliteration.
Tashed twat of the week. No, I enjoy doing it. It's quite. It's quite overwhelming, to be fair, that there's 500 people that subscribe to my channel to want to know what comics are coming out and stuff. So yeah, thanks to you all. It's kind of thanks to you guys on the show that help me do it all, and I enjoy doing it every week. So thanks for coming on every Thursday. Thanks for watching my shows. Everyone in the chat, thanks for making a geeky guy, comic guy happy. Yeah. And on that note, but yeah, if you ain't subbed already, then I don't know why you're in the chat, because you should have obviously subbed because you would have found my channel. But yeah, help me get to 500, and I'm actually going to plan like a massive giveaway. There's going to be like merchandise, there's going to be Funko Pops, there's going to be comics, there's going to be collectibles and stuff like that. So yeah, you can enter into that. It'll be the standard follow on Instagram, follow on YouTube, tag a person, you know, the old sippity doodah day and all stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be decent. Yeah. And on that note, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thanks to everyone in the chat. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't already, as Andy said, do check out Fear Case number 1 and 2, because along with Berserker, Matt King is absolutely killing it this year so far. And yeah, Fear Case, if you like your mystery, your horror genre type esque story, that is definitely something to get into.
He even corrected me on Instagram when I tagged the wrong artist on a post. So fair play to that man.
I did that earlier, literally, James, as well. So clearly it's a trend.
But yeah, thank you everyone for joining. And Andy, you did it so well the other night. And if I don't see you for a week...
Love you, Tom. We'll see you through the Geeky Guy window.
Oh yeah, Tom. Love you, boy. See you later, mate.
Bye,
Ciao.
Tom.
Cheers, guys.